just trying to be a normal person and trying to decompress a little bit. I work a lot, and so sometimes when you're working all the time, you want to take a little break, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm taking a break. Now, I want to say what's up to my friends on Instagram. Instagram is the real Boyce Watkins. So if you haven't followed us on the gram, follow us there. What's up to my friends on YouTube as well as Twitter. Dr. Boyce Watkins one is the Twitter page, and also drboycetv.com. That's the YouTube channel. So if you type in drboycetv.com, you will be connected on YouTube. Hey, what's going on, Khalil and Martin and here in Detroit? Okay, that's good. That's really good. Yeah, I like Detroit. I got to do more stuff in Detroit. I haven't done more enough there, and sometimes you just get so worn out. You know, it's just so much going on. But uh, but that's no excuse. People out here got real problems. You know, I can't say I'm anything less than blessed. You know, I'm blessed that I get to talk to you. I'm blessed that you listen to me. I'm blessed that we have a productive relationship, and that's what I do every day. I wake up and I count my blessings. Now let's jump in and hey, what's up, Heart the artist? He said Harlem showing you love. Well, I love Harlem too, man. I'm telling you. I worked a lot with Dame Dash for a while, and so I got to learn a lot about Harlem, you know, through that. And I have a lot of respect for the people in Harlem, no question at all. Hey, Tony J and Money Pro Music and Circada and Vicky Dillard. Vicky Dillard, all things black and beautiful. Vicky Dillard is an amazing, extraordinary black woman that you should be. We have partnerships with various spaces can convert themselves into strong black media outlets. As you know, one of the things I've always talked about in terms of building and not just talking is the belief in us having black media outlets so that we can have our own CNN, our own ABC News, our own CBS, that kind of thing. Am I stopped up? Yeah, a little bit. And so basically, Fly Nubian Queen TV is part of that. Fly Nubian Queen TV is part of Fly Nubian Media, which has Fly Nubian Kings, Fly Nubian Kids, and Fly Nubian Queen, which is for the ladies to kind of do their thing. And Vicky is kind of the star of that platform, but there's so many other great people there as well. Danielle Pierce, C. Simone Kisan, who else? Am I? Dr. Shauna Etienne, Taryn Donatian, just really strong. Jade Arundel, just really bad. I mean, just badass black women. I mean, that's all you can really say. And these are just, and it's really special to me to be a part of that because you know, these are the women that I grew up with, that I know. You know what I mean? That I just know from my experience. You know, as a black man, you know, like what I see on TV is not real to me. What I see on TV is very fake. It's whitewashed. It's manufactured. It's mass produced. Even the political candidates, you know, they're Manchurian candidates. They're not real candidates that represent the community. Whereas when I look at the ladies at Fly Nubian Queen and going on to some of the others that I didn't mention, like Dolores Jones and others, I just kind of see authenticity. I see realness. And I respect that. I respect the realness. And Michi X was one of our first people that we put out there. And Michi has blown up all over the world. And now Michi's moved on to do other things, but she's still a partner with the network. And so we love her too. We love everybody that's a part of it. And it's really been a successful experiment. And so we also partner with the Black History Network, or excuse me, the African History Network, Black Knowledge. We were able to reach millions of black people on our own without the permission of white folks, and I think that's pretty significant, given that given that white people have always controlled media. You know, white people have always decided if we have an opportunity to speak or not, or have to be silent. And I just decided that in this generation, my goal was to help in that myth, like make that no longer a reality, right? And that's pretty much what you know what we did with that, and we're proud of that. You know, I mean, even on one YouTube channel, we have 340,000 subscribers. That's hard to ignore. And why does that come into play? Well, it comes into play in times like this. You know, now you got these Democratic candidates doing what they normally do. They're showing up on your doorstep, showing up in your hood, showing up back in you know, in your churches and everything, trying to get your vote. And they have a game. It's a simple, consistent game that they play, where you know white liberals they have their media outlets. So what they'll do is they will choose. They'll have their selected Negroes. They'll have the black people that they choose to empower, and the trade-off is that they empower these people with a broader voice, as long as they pursue their agenda for them. So what happened, for example, when Obama got elected, and I saw all of this, I was behind the scenes, and I was kind of a candidate for the chosen Negro, and I got out once I realized what was going on. I backed out of all of that because I didn't understand politics at that time the way I do now. But what I saw was MSNBC had a big, strong partnership with the Democratic Party. So any black person that was willing to kind of just support anything Obama and the administration had to say was going to get an opportunity to be on MSNBC, so you could say it louder, so that more people could hear you. And that's how people like Al Sharpton got their shows, Melissa Harris Perry, a lot of Touré, a lot of the people that were on there on a regular basis. Roland Martin got his gigs with CNN mainly because he was connected with the Democrats and the Obamas. Remember, they came out of Chicago, so Roland was around them before they became big, so they saw that as a connection, right? So it doesn't mean that these people are bad or anything like that. It just means that they had an agenda, and their agenda wasn't always your agenda. And I think that's the thing that I think black people have to kind of understand is that, it's okay for people to have an agenda. You just got to know what it is and ask yourself, does their agenda match my agenda? And I don't think that that's true. I think that for black people, the Democratic Party's agenda does not match the black agenda, although there are opportunities for overlap if they took you more seriously. Well, how are they going to take you more seriously? Well, they're only going to take you more seriously if you get more power. They only understand power. They only understand power. Was it if you watch Star Trek? Anybody watch Star Trek? Am I the only nerd who watch Star Trek? If you don't watch it, it's pretty good actually. And there's a species called the Klingons, and Klingons ain't basically nothing but black people. Like I mean, that's kind of the way they designed it with their racist asses. But still, the Klingons, they are what they are. And the thing about the Klingons is Klingons don't understand like peace. They don't understand olive branches. Klingons don't understand the white raising the white flag. Klingons don't understand, peace offerings to come together and find common ground. Klingons only understand power. Klingons only understand and respect power. If you can't go in and just kick them in their ass, they're not going to respect you ever. They don't care they don't care if you're a good person or if you did the right thing or if you're honorable. No, if you can't kick their ass, then you get no respect from them. And so I think the Democratic Party and all these politicians, they're kind of like Klingons. If you can't show that you can kick their ass, they're not going to respect you. And so recently, hit that thumbs up button, by the way. If you're on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button, or anywhere else, please hit the, just connect, get online, get into the tribe, subscribe to something. Either hit the thumbs up button, subscribe button, and or if you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. So here's the thing. So the Democratic Party and the Republicans, they're kind of like the Klingons, with black folks. They, we are people that tend to operate, on honor and loyalty and things like that. And what I've noticed is politics and sometimes in business, this is true. You have some people that do not respond to honor and dignity and loyalty and kindness. They only respond to power. They only respond to power. And I've run into this, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I've actually been burned by people who took my kindness for a weakness, and at that point, the way to show power was I had to cut them off, and of course, it caused a war, caused a fight, but I don't regret it one bit. I think that you can still be strong and be kind at the same time, but generally speaking, I think that when you talk about politics in America, black people have been left behind consistently by the people who claim to represent our interests. So recently, I read that Kamala Harris is now talking reparations, and that's some dangerous territory for her to go into. I think that it makes sense. I'd be willing to bet you. Here's my personal private speculation based on conversations I've had and things that I have seen and my instincts, my intuition. My intuition tells me that Kamala knows that there's a large percentage of black people who ain't buying her bullshit. I think she understands, she hears you, she hears your voice, she hears your voice. Even I questioned, I wasn't trying to be mean or anything. I just said, well, how could a lady go to an HBCU and meet all these black people and still end up marrying a white man? Not that that's wrong, not that that's bad, not that that makes her a terrible person, but you went through all these brothers and you picked a white guy, and that looks awfully consistent with what you see with a lot of black women in Hollywood who rise up the ladder. They rise up the ladder by marrying a white man. In fact, when the lady at ABC News, who was one of the bosses at ABC News, who cut the Roseanne show off the air, I told Dr. Alicia, my significant other, I said, I bet you $50 that if I look up her husband, I bet she's married to a white man. And I Googled it, and she was sitting there at some award show next to some white guy. And so, really, that's kind of a power move. Just like for some of these brothers, marrying a white woman is a status move. For a lot of sisters, marrying the white man is a status move too, or it's a power move also, because white guys in these institutions, when you talk about politics or business or entertainment, they tend to have a little more power than black men have, right? So here's the thing, though. It's a very delicate conversation because I'm not here to legislate who people are allowed to marry, nor am I one to say that who you marry determines what kind of person you are. I have people that I love dearly who married someone outside their race, but I can tell you this: I know exactly why they did it, and I know exactly what that means. I don't think that it was an insignificant, trivial decision. Like, I don't think it's like, okay, I just happened to pick Charmin toilet paper over Cottonelle, whatever it's called, like no, that's not a sort of one of those decisions you just make and don't think it through. No, you process that. There's something about you that led you to be attracted to that particular kind of thing, and so I think that, for example, I'll use myself as an example, in my colorism. Dr. Alicia, if you've seen her, she's light, bright, and damn near white. She hates the fact that she's so bright, light skinned, because when people are light skinned, they get a lot of shit. Because people think that they're not as black or whatever. But she grew up in the hood, is super black, would never marry a white man. Everything a black woman does, she does all that stuff. Like, she's got every ounce of a real black woman inside of her that you look for, but she happens to be light skinned. Well, here's the thing. She took a picture next to my mother, and I saw her next to my mother, and I said, "Oh my God." We were all stunned. We were stunned at how much they looked alike. They looked like they were mother and daughter. And even her own mother said, "Damn, she looks more like you than I do." And so, it's kind of like, so I had to think about that. And I said, maybe that all that stuff they say about being attracted to someone who looks like your mother, I guess that must be true. And so, anyway, she happens to be a social worker like my mother. So I don't know if that's a coincidence, but it is. It is what it is. So a lot of times, who we choose to have by our sides does say something about what kind of person we are. So, for example, with myself, you can't disconnect the woman I choose to have next to me from who I am as a person. Like, if you talk to her and you ask her about black issues, she's not mainstream black. She's got some opinions that are not fit for TV. She's very very pro black, very, like, we talk about the white feminists and the white woman's tears and all kinds of shit like that. And that's a kind of conversation I need to be able to have with the woman next to me. So for me to be able to marry like a white woman who isn't connected to that culture and that history at all would say something about what I value and what matters to me, like what's relevant to me, what are the deal breakers in my head, and so anyway, with Kamala, I remember when I made that tweet about Kamala's husband and just asked that question. I didn't even say anything about it. I just asked the question, and I remember the whole world went crazy. I mean, I think that tweet got 18,000 replies or something crazy. And I said, wow, I must have really triggered something in people. I really struck a nerve with people who know that they have issues, who know that that there are people that can see through their bullshit. This wasn't just like, oh, this guy's being a jerk, he's being a racist, he's telling her who she can and can't love. No, I think that the most valuable thing you can give another person is your life. The most valuable thing you can give another person is your commitment. And so when you take the most valuable thing that you have and you don't give it to a person that's black, then that says at the very least that blackness is not a big deal breaker for you. Whereas blackness was a deal breaker for me. I wasn't gonna marry no woman who wasn't black, and I really couldn't marry a woman who ain't really black. Like, I've met a lot of bougie black women, who saw, I'm talking about like corporate types who make lots of money, maybe high ranking professors who said, oh, here's a brother who's got a PhD like me, and he's a respected professor, like, and I love all that, and he's got a little bit of money, but instantly they could tell, like hanging out with me is not an easy ride. Like, I'm not I'm not a guy that's gonna be, going with you to, the Harvard University, annual bullshit gala that they have every year where the mayor is going to be in attendance. Like, I'm not that guy. So if you can't be real, if you don't have substance, then instantly you were going to be deleted from consideration. I couldn't consider myself next to a weak woman, a weak ass black woman. I couldn't see myself next to a fake ass black woman. I couldn't see myself next to a bougie ass black woman, because that bougie, fake, weak shit, those are the types of women that, and this is, brothers need to listen to this, those are the types of women who will run when times get hard. Those are the types of women who will run when you really going through the shit. When you really done stood up to the man, you done lost your job, you done lost your money, the whole world hates you, and you've been ostracized. Women, bougie, weak, fake women are the ones who will leave because they'll be too embarrassed or too traumatized to stick with you. They got those they break down like white women, whereas you got strong women, like the Vicky Dillard types. I use Vicky because I saw Vicky's name pop up, but that's an example. The women that are ready to ride with you, like the women who back during slavery would have fought the master with you to the death, who would have protected you from the master, who would have, who would die right next to you. Like those are really impressive, strong built kinds of women. And that was the kind of woman I knew to look for from a very early age. And I think that for young men, if you're looking for a woman, that's what you want. You need somebody, as a black man, you really need somebody that's really gonna be able to go through the fights with you and go through the fire with you. You can't, I don't care how well you're doing, I don't care how much money you got. And yeah, I've done pretty well. I'm kind of famous. I've made some money. I mean, sold 100,000 books and signed autographs. I do all of that shit. But I know it could all go away in a second. I know it at any day, it could all come crumbling down. And if that all comes crumbling down, I don't need a woman that's going to crumble too. Like, I need somebody that's gonna be like, okay, baby, me and you, we gonna fight through this. And I've seen men have women that were not built like that, who would just abandon them when times got tough. And I think that that's unfortunate. So anyway, going back to Kamala Harris, I think I guess the reason I bring that up is because when I look at Kamala, and her husband choice and all that, I wasn't speculating on why she picked that particular man, but I have strong instincts in terms of why we pick certain kinds of people and what those individual partners can do for us. And so I asked that question, and people got really outraged about it. And I'm sure it got back to Kamala. And I got a text message from Charlemagne the Guy at the Breakfast Club about some of this. He was asking me, like basically asking me, like, what is it that black people would want to see? What is it that I should ask these politicians when they come on the air? And Charlemagne's a good guy. He's a friend. We've been knowing each other about 13 years now. And I basically just said that, you can't have these politicians, these black politicians, not speaking on the issues that uniquely affect descendants of slaves. Like, you can't have them going in here doing, like, even Michael Eric Dyson did this on the Breakfast Club. Cory Booker, they're all going on the Breakfast Club now, and they're all saying the same thing. Whenever they ask them about a black agenda, they always start talking about the white agenda, and then they put a black face on it. They have this standard packaging that they put together, when they were away from black people, and they're bringing it to black people. That's very different from having the black community at the table with you when you're deciding what that agenda is going to be. People now are more sophisticated. They can see through the nonsense. They can see through the BS. So I told Charlamagne, I said, well, you got to talk about reparations. I said, but the thing about reparations is that it's a word you have to use carefully. When Kamala uses that word, she must understand what that means. Reparations, you can't just say, well, I'm gonna pay you reparations. Here's $50. Like, you can't do that. You can't throw out some bullshit and say, okay, we paid reparations, everything's good now. No, reparations is a big Pandora's box, because you're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar problem that the United States has. And there's a reason why your president, Barack Obama, never touched the reparations. He never brought it up. He never said the word. He never talked about it in a serious context, which means that he was never really a serious black candidate. He was a good president, but he wasn't a good candidate for black people. And so Kamala, took that extra step, and I commend her for that. But I think that what she probably needs is she needs good advisors that can really help her understand what that means. And you're not going to please everybody, but you've got to have some sort of a plan that is specific, and it has to be something that that has the magnitude that really addresses, something a 300-400 year crime against black people. Like I mean, that you're talking something that is, I mean, my God, it's like the United States is R. Kelly, and you're going back, you know, 300 years of allegations that you have to cover, in order to really address that, right? I mean, we have been molested and abused by this country in every single way imaginable since, the 17th century. So, in order for you to really think that you can address that as president, you're going to have some hard equations to solve. And I think the first person that she should probably meet with, if she's going to use that word reparations and be taken seriously, is Dr. Claude Anderson. Now, I want you to ask yourselves this: why is it that these presidential candidates, they'll meet with Al Sharpton 40,000 times, but won't meet with Dr. Claude Anderson once? Why is that? Well, it's because Sharpton ain't serious. Sharpton's not going to bring anything uncomfortable or challenging to the table. Sharpton is, he's a team player for the Democratic Party. There's a lot of, unfortunately, there's even a lot of evidence to say that he's connected and wired in, to the feds and at an uncomfortable level. Where he was an informant at one point. And some people say once you're an informant, they always have you. They never let you go. They don't just say, oh, okay, you're free to go now. Good luck. No, they don't let you go as soon as you get power. Now, when you get the power, they're like, okay, now we really got something here. Now we really got somebody that can really do us some good favors. Um, so I'm not going to sit here and say Sharpton is necessarily a terrible person all the time. I'm just here to ask you to ask yourself, why is it that they keep going back to him over and over and over again? There's so many brilliant people out here. There's so many brilliant black folks out here that can help them solve these important problems. They could bring legitimate discussions to the table that have substance and merit to them, and they won't talk to any of those individuals. Largely because they're not ready for the conversations. So, I think Kamala Harris bringing up reparations is a nice gesture. I don't. It doesn't mean anything until it actually, is formulated into a plan. But even then, I think that there's still a challenge with the Democratic Party, largely because they've allowed themselves to kind of be hijacked by, like white feminists and stuff like that. Like this Me Too movement is something that any black man and any black person with a son or a brother or an uncle or a husband or a dad should be very cautious about the Me Too movement and the Democratic Party's support of the Me Too movement. Because the Me Too movement effectively legalizes lynching, basically. I mean, it takes us back to the days where somebody can accuse you of something and they're going to punish you as if you did it, and they're not going to give you any trial. There's no evidence, there's no proof necessary. They'll destroy you. And so a lot of y'all got sons going off to college, who are going to, have girls hitting on them left and right. And all it takes is one girl who's mad that your son didn't call her back, or mad because your son's dating another girl. And next thing you know, she goes to the university and says, he raped me. And then what happens is suddenly, the Me Too movement kicks into action. Title IX is the first thing that they invoke. Title IX gives her all the protections and him none of the protections. Title IX basically puts them in a position where, from the jump, just because she made the accusation, they're gonna kick your son out of school, which is gonna make it impossible for him to get into any other university, because nobody wants to be associated with a rapist, even an accused rapist, even somebody who is just accused of misconduct. Nobody wants to be associated. They don't even want to take the chance, right? So it's going to hurt his job prospects for life. It's going to hurt his ability to get into any other schools, whatever. If he's on a sports team, he's going to get kicked off the sports team, like Quintez Cephas. And then on top of that, what happened with Quintez Cephas is that the Title IX rules basically stripped all of his rights and told him, you have no right to plead the fifth or to remain silent. You can't do that. If you use any of those rights, we will kick you out of school completely. They already took away his football career, so now they were trying to take him out of school. And so he said, "Wait a minute, you mean if I don't relinquish all my rights that I have to a fair trial, that you're going to kick me out of school?" And they were like, "Yeah, basically yes." So ultimately, and this is not just a one-off kind of thing. This is not just something that happens just to guilty people. There's another brother. I defended a black professor at a university. I told you I got out of academia. I didn't want to. I don't want to deal with the nonsense and the racism. But I interact with colleagues, that are still in at universities. And this brother reached out to me and he asked me to serve as a witness in a situation where he would hold baby showers in his class for women that were having babies. And he made a joke, like a polite little joke about a woman being pregnant. He said, "So when are you gonna hatch?" Just kind of like he always made that joke, right? So this white woman felt that this joke made her uncomfortable and it was sexual harassment. So she goes and she reports him to the university, and they come back to him. They say, "You've got a charges filed against you," and he's like, "Okay, so what are the charges?" They're like, "We can't tell you." And he's like, "Okay, well, who filed it? I have a right to face my accuser." And they said, "No, you don't. We're not going to tell you who it is." So this man who'd spent 20 years building up a pretty spotless reputation as a scholar, all of that was in jeopardy because some white woman decided that she was uncomfortable with a joke that he made in class and used Title IX to attack him. So what's effectively true is that you know we've lost balance. There is no balance when it comes to the Democratic Party. There is no sort of quest or desire for fairness or justice. Anytime you tell somebody that you can accuse anybody of anything with no proof, what you're doing is you're getting into almost like a social version of what happened during the financial crisis. During the financial crisis, the reason the financial markets collapsed was because they were so gung ho on selling houses and giving out these loans that they required people to give no proof of income. They didn't have to prove that they had a job. They didn't have to prove they had any money in the bank. They could just sign. They can even put a fake name on a mortgage application to get a mortgage, right? And then the whole system ended up collapsing because you weren't doing any due diligence. Well, the Me Too movement kind of became like that too. People were able to make still to this day, but fortunately some people are seeing through this nonsense. They were able to make accusations against other people, people who've spent 30 years building up a whole career. They make accusations with no proof. It could be 30 years old. It could be stuff where there was no crime reported initially, none whatsoever, no evidence at all, and we're supposed to act like this stuff really happened, and that is insanity. Like that is absolute lunacy. And so what my fear, not my concern, this is my fear, is that if you give the Democratic Party too much power, I think they're gonna run amok with this Me Too nonsense. And next thing you know, the people that are gonna be getting took down the most are gonna be black men. It's gonna be some brother who had sex with some girl and maybe she was drunk, and she's gonna come back and she's gonna say, "I was drunk, and so he had no right to have sex with me, and therefore he's a rapist." And I've never seen that. I can't imagine being drunk and saying, "Because I was drunk, that means you raped me." Like that doesn't make any sense. That would sound stupid coming out of my mouth. But people are allowed to say things like that. That's why Quintez Cephas is going down. Go look that case up. Quintez Cephas at the University of Wisconsin. That's a modern day lynching. These two white girls wanted to have a threesome. They got together with him. They all agreed to get high and get drunk together, and they all agreed to have sex together. So they all went in this room. They all had sex, and afterward, they came back and they said he raped us because he got us high and drunk, and once we were high and drunk, we could not consent. So that means that he's a rapist. But he was high and drunk too. Does that mean he didn't consent to you? No, you shift the narrative because he's the one that's got the penis. But all of y'all were high and drunk as far as I'm concerned. All of y'all went in behind closed doors and did whatever ratchet shit y'all did. So how in the hell is this black man gonna lose his life, lose his entire future because of what you chose to participate in? It doesn't make any sense. So to me, those are the big concerns I have with the Democrats. I'm not voting for the Republicans. I'm not going to do that. I'm not a Republican. And a lot of people want to peg me as a Republican. But what happens is that there's no freedom of choice in America because if I say I don't support the Democrats, people will say, it's because of people like you that Trump gets into office. So you might as well be a Republican because you're not supporting the Democrats. And I reject that. I reject that. You're not going to bully me into making a dumbass decision. I'm not going to be bullied into being as retarded as you. I'm not going to be bullied into doing something that does not reflect my interests. I'm not interested. I don't care. I don't care. We could have 18 President Trumps in office over and over again. And if y'all really want to see Trump out of office, then y'all need to stop promoting bullshit. So the Democratic Party, if the Democratic Party really doesn't want Trump in office, then they should do better by black folks. If you do better by black folks, then black folks will show up to the polls and they'll help you get Trump out of office. But if you don't do right by black folks, then we're gonna be like, okay, well, good luck. Hope you enjoy another 4 years with your president. Because y'all, I mean, the stuff y'all really mad about, honestly, doesn't bother me that much. Like, I don't really give a I don't give a half of a rat's ass fuck about a border wall. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cuss too much, but I don't care. A border wall means nothing to me. I don't wake up in a cold sweat cussing at the ceiling because of the border wall. It does not matter to me. I don't care. I don't want to. I don't care about little kids being separated from their parents at the border. It's like 14 kids or something. It's not even a big number. I'm thinking about the 25,000 black children or 50,000 or 100,000 black children that are separated from their parents because Bill Clinton decided to put all their daddies in prison. That's what I'm thinking about. And I'm also thinking about the fact that you've never thought about this. I'm thinking about the fact that this is so blatant and you're completely ignoring it, which really is yet another reminder of how little respect you have for us. The fact that you can spend all day Hillary Clinton and other people, she tweeted about this. I tweeted right back at Hillary on this shit. I tweeted right back at her on this. The fact that she could tweet about kids being separated from their parents at the border, like that's a national emergency, and not say anything about black people and our children being separated from their parents, it should be about as offensive as you can get. It's like somebody shooting your mother in the chest then stepping over your mama's dying body to go take care of the old lady who broke a toenail. Like really, like, oh my God, it's an emergency. Her toenails, they're not gonna grow back properly. We have to get to this immediately. And you like, but my mama's on the ground dead, like she's dying. You didn't see that? You know, we'd rather talk about something else. Like we want to change the subject. Okay, we'll change the subject. Well, every time you ask me to vote for you, I'm gonna change the subject too. So somebody says, so don't vote. I never have told black people what to do. I never tell black people to vote or not to vote. I don't believe in telling black. Unlike the Democrats, I don't tell black people what to do. I tell you what I'm gonna do. And I tell you that my goal, my job as an American is to exercise my freedom of expression. And my freedom of expression says that I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to do. And if I'm not happy with what I see in front of me, I'm not gonna support it. And you can't talk me out of that. The fact that that people will try to pressure you into that really speaks more to what kind of people they are, and how little respect they have for you. I mean, if they really respected you, they wouldn't do that to you. Let's see here. So, Boyce, would you become an independent? I guess I am independent, actually. I'm gonna answer some of your questions. Hit that thumbs up button, please. I need thumbs up. I need it for my self-esteem. Nobody likes me, so hit the thumbs up button. Show me that you don't hate me as much as everyone else. I would appreciate that. All right, so let me see. I'm gonna look at some of your questions. Bully voting is because of symbolism. Okay, yes. Majority of the kids still in the holding centers came to the U.S. as unaccompanied minors. Who sends the children with traffickers by themselves? Yeah, I mean, what I think we don't we don't talk about is that a lot of this stuff is not what it appears to be. You know, like I'll tell you, there was a great Bloomberg article written about Chicago and all the homicides in Chicago. And one of the things that they said about Chicago is that a lot of the dead black boys in Chicago are killed because of drug cartels. They come into the country illegally. I'm not kidding. I'm not saying that this makes everybody who comes across the border into a criminal, but you'd be dumb to think that there aren't criminals that are coming across the border taking advantage of easy access. You know that show Narcos, they tapped on that. The guy, one of the drug cartel guys, was narrating the story, and he said, "Shoot, when NAFTA passed, he said it became easy to bring whatever you wanted across the border." And so, you know, so I don't think much about border type stuff, but my simple conclusion is that black people do not benefit when our vote gets diluted by all these people that we decide we want to let into the country, that we're going to put in line ahead of black people. Like, you know, you're putting them ahead of black people for benefits, for, you know, support for their businesses, for all kinds of things. And I say take care of your own people first. That's just always been my thing. And the other thing is that other countries are not as easy as we are. Like we have this weird idea that we're supposed to just let anybody and everybody into our country. Most countries don't do that shit. Most countries are like, no, you can't just come in and take all of our stuff. Like, we're the only ones who think that that's like normal behavior. I don't think that's normal at all. So I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm telling you that it's okay to think whatever you want. It's okay to have your own opinion on this and not feel pressured by what everybody else wants you to believe. Oh, by the way, if anybody wants to learn how to invest in the stock market, we've got a big discount on the program. In case you don't know, my PhD's in finance, and we talk about stock market investing, which is a really important way to build a long-term wealth for your family. If you're interested in learning how to invest in the stock market, you can get a discount on the program by going to theblackstockmarketprogram.com. Theblackstockmarketprogram.com. If somebody could type that in, I'd appreciate it. That's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. And that's stock market investing. Here's the thing: if you want your family to be rich in the next generation, it's very easy to do. It's very hard to make yourself rich like in a week or two. But if you want it like your kids, like if you said, okay, I got a baby, I want my baby to be rich by the time they're 40, it's very easy to do that. Just learn how to invest and just buy stocks and buy like at least maybe 150 $200 worth of stock every month. And what will happen is that initial 150 that you invest for that month is going to grow over a 30-40 year period. It's going to grow into thousands and thousands of dollars, right? And then but then you're repeating that process. So you're giving your baby thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And next thing you know, they're in a good financial situation. A lot of people are in bad financial situations because we didn't have parents or grandparents who prepared us for the future. So if you want to learn all these principles and get a degree in the Black Business School, as you know, we build our own systems. We're not seeking accreditation. We give accreditations. You feel free to go check out theblackstockmarketprogram.com. If you're in the program, please tell people that you're in it. Or if you're in the Black Business School, tell people about it so that they can know how great it is. That it's really something special and that it does something. There we go. Thank you. The courses are great. I have taken them, watched them, and learned as a beginner. Highly recommend. Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else, if you can give us an endorsement, we really could use that because it's tough. When you're Black and you're doing something different, it's hard to help people understand the difference between fake stuff and real stuff. What's fake and what's real. So this is very, very real. What's your opinion on Bernie Sanders running again? I think Sanders, he's better than Hillary Clinton. I think he's better than most of the candidates out there. I mean, he doesn't excite me that much, but I think Sanders. When I think about Bernie Sanders, I think about a guy who had the election stolen from him, the nomination. I think that what the Democrats did really set them back. The public doesn't trust them anymore because they found out what underhanded stuff they did to really undermine Bernie Sanders' campaign. And Bernie Sanders is the guy that I believe could have beat Donald Trump. And the fact that they eliminated him and he didn't beat Trump, it kind of says that that's what you get. You get Donald Trump because you didn't want to let the best candidate run, or at least amongst the white people. You wanted Hillary to run, and so now you're paying a price for that. What do you think about forex? I think forex is fine. It's not. I don't. It's not the same as long term diversified investing though. Forex is kind of a game where I've seen a lot of people lose money in forex. Let's see here. Boyce Watkins, keep Trump in office if the Democrats don't take us serious. Yeah, I don't, Trump being in office, somebody tell me if your life is pretty much the same since Donald Trump got elected versus before he was elected. Like, tell me, raise your hand if your life did not change when Obama got in office, if your life did not change when Trump got in office, if your life did not change when Bush got in office because of something they did. Like, tell me if you are one. I'm raising my hand to say my life did not change one damn bit when Obama got elected, no matter how many tears we cried because we were so happy. My life did not change one bit when Trump got elected. My life did not change one bit when Bush got elected. Right? Raise your hand if you're in the same category. And the reason I say this is because Black people, we're kind of on our own. What you do as a Black person is what's going to determine what your future looks like. That's what's going to determine where you are, what you do. If are your kids going to grow up to be strong, independent, intelligent people, or are they going to grow up to be worthless assholes? Well, who's in the White House ain't going to change that one way or the other. And so one of the things that I've argued consistently is, it's great to talk about reparations and these big, bold, you know, ambitious initiatives that we've discussed about, that will make things right. And I think that's fine. I would support a reparations bill, but I believe that Black people can give ourselves reparations. I believe that we can do it in a way that does not require us to wait for Superman or to wait for some big magical presidential candidate to spearhead everything. What I encourage you to do is to be the president of your own house. Be the president of your own family. As the president of your own family, you have a tremendous amount of power, a tremendous amount of power. Think about like maybe your great grandmother or your great grandfather and how important they are to you, right? Think about, if you've ever had a family gathering where Big Mama was serving dinner for everybody, and how much respect everybody had for Big Mama, and how much, um, her actions played a part in how your life turned out. Like, think about that, right? Well, that's a little kingdom. Like, Big Mama is the queen of a kingdom. Your granddaddy is the king of that kingdom, and so ultimately, that's your empire. That's the place that you control what happens. That's the place where you call the shots. That's the place where your legacy has a huge impact. Little things you do play a huge role in the outcomes. Like, my grandmother did little things with me when I was little that affect me to this day. It affects how I raise my kids. It affects how I interact with the world. And this is 50, 40 years after she did these things. And so what I'm saying to you is, with our families, I think that that's where reparations begins. And so it starts with value and education at the highest levels, pushing our children to be as intelligent and as capable as they can be. You can get all the educational opportunity is no longer a concept. There's no such thing as a lack of access to education anymore. There's no such thing. Because everybody can get to the internet. Everybody that's got a cell phone can get to the internet. So access to education is no longer a factor anymore. Educate your damn kids. Put them tell them, constantly remind them the importance of being the most intelligent person in the room. Remind them of the importance of knowledge. Also, economics. Economics reigns supreme. Your economic condition is the most important factor in your life in terms of your happiness and well-being, other than your health and the status of your relationships. Those are the only other two things that matter a lot, but those things are also affected by your economic condition. Many Black men die early because they can't pay the bills, or they stressed out because they hate their job, right? So health, wealth, and relationships, three of the most important things that exist in your life, are all connected to your economic condition. So if you want to do what's right by your children, and you want to make them strong, and you want to put them in a position to get ahead and to actually exceed the average white person in terms of wealth level and opportunity level, then you start investing for your children early. You start educating and training them early. You train them on economics early. You train them on how to invest. You train them on how to buy a home. You train them on how to start a business. Those three things: teach your kids how to buy a home, invest in the stock market, and start a business. Then what will happen is your children will take the resources that you give them, and they'll take the knowledge you've blessed them with, and they're going to take that, and they're going to do things that are amazing with that. They're not going to be in a position where they're going to feel like anybody's victim. They're not going to go through life saying, "Oh, well, because I'm Black, this is why I can't pay the rent," or "Because I'm Black, this is why I can't take care of my kids. Because I'm Black, this is why I can't provide for myself." Your children won't have that problem, because your children are going to say, "Yeah, I am Black, and yeah, there is racism, and yeah, sometimes being Black is very difficult, but it's a lot easier to be Black when you have $250,000 in liquid assets in the bank. Yeah, being Black really sucks. It's really tough, but it's a lot easier being Black when you have a $400,000 house and you're damn near done paying for it." Right? Yeah, it's tough being Black. Yeah, it's really, really hard. So, and I hate it, being Black on my job, because white people, they keep acting white, and it's frustrates me. So that's why I quit my job and I started a business, because me and all my cousins, we all grew up with aunts and uncles who taught us, who put us in programs to learn how to start businesses at an early age. So we got together and started a family business. So now we're insulated from racism because we know how to make our money as a family. Right? So basically, that's how you pay yourself reparations. A family who does those things, I don't care if you're Black, white, green, male, female, or whatever, you're going to be ahead of the average white person. You're going to be at in a state like Illinois, I think, to be in the 1%, you have to make, I think, over $400,000 a year. I know Black people who make over $400,000 a year because they started a business, or because they started investing early, or because they own assets. So it's not to say that it's easy being black. It's not to minimize racism on any level. It's not to say that all these structural factors don't exist, but understand structural factors only impact you if you make yourself vulnerable to those structural factors, right? Like you can only kick me in the balls if I place my testicles in front of your foot, right? But if I have a protector, if I have something that protects my testicles and I don't place them in front of your foot, then it's much harder for you to kick me in my balls. So black people, the reason that you get eaten by the lion is because from a very early age, you're trained to walk right into the lion's den. Not only do you walk right into the lion's den to get eaten by the lion, you also put salt and pepper on yourself and seasoning on your body and make yourself fat and juicy so the lion will enjoy eating you that much more. And you're also fat and slow, so you can't actually run away from the lion if the lion comes at you. So what I'm saying to you is that a lot of our adult people, a lot of black folks in our community, we get eaten in the lion's den because we prepare our children for a feast at a very early age. When you are only teaching your children how to go apply for a job from a white man in order to survive, and that's the only skill they have, then you are serving them up to white supremacy. You are doing a human sacrifice where you're handing your child over to the white man and saying, "Do with my child as you will." And then then you're upset because your child, somebody done did an R. Kelly on your baby, like they done economically molested your child and put your child through all kinds of hell, but you served them up. You did just like those parents did with R. Kelly. Y'all, come on, for real. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I live in Chicago. We know a lot of those parents were serving their children up to R. Kelly. One of the ladies in the documentary said, "Oh, when my daughter was 17, I took her to an R. Kelly concert, but I didn't think it was gonna make a difference. And then I let her go on stage, and then I let her go backstage, then I let her go to the studio with him." And this was like 2015. And they've been knowing what this man's been doing for 20 years. They've been knowing he's a child molester since 1994. And you up here and you really did all of this, and you still expect us to look at you like you're a typical victim that where this could have happened to anybody? No, this could have happened to anybody. I would, if my daughter was good to go to an R. Kelly concert, it would be because she went without my permission, right? If she was to go backstage with R. Kelly, it would be because I had no idea what was going on. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is that the analogy basically applies in that a lot of times the victimization that we experience the most as black people, the struggles that we experience, sometimes they occur because we serve our children right up for that experience. We serve them right up to the very system that we know is going to exploit them. So what I'm saying is serve your children up to a different system, or don't serve them up at all, actually. Find a different system, find a different space, find a different way of thinking. Because I'm gonna tell you, any black child who's raised to engage in what I call nigga-like thinking is doomed. Like nigga-like thinking is where your little boy is spending all his time playing basketball and football and no time reading and learning. Maybe your kids grow up and all they know how to do is fill out job applications, so they never learn how to start a business. They don't know anything about managing money. They're engrossed in excessive consumerism, so they want to buy Gucci at every turn. Even though they're working in White Castle, are still trying to buy a Gucci purse. Like what kind of sense does that make? So watching reality, these stupid reality shows on TV that pretty much kill your brain cells. Like I really think that it's like over time, if you really look at it, it's all very, very clear how it happens. But what isn't clear is that is the idea of promoting a solution to this. I believe that there are solutions. I believe that there's ways to still be black in America and endure the discomfort that comes with being black and to still be okay. I think you can still be okay. And I think that and what disturbs me about liberals, and Kamala Harris is part of that clique, is that liberals preach in a way that is disempowering. They don't really like the idea of anybody talking to black people in a way that says you can actually fix some of this on your own. You can actually fix this on your own. My mother, I'm not putting my family on a pedestal, but I'm going to talk about them for a minute. When I was a little kid, my mother was 17 when she gave birth to me. She was a single mom. My dad was he dropped out of high school to go into the Vietnam War, but he wasn't my biological father. He was my stepfather. He met my mother on college campus, thought she was cute, and they got together. And we lived in the projects together. I took you guys to that housing project that I lived in when I was 3 years old, and then he was in the military, and we went to Texas to go, because Daddy was in the military and whatnot, and And one of the things I can say is that I remember, growing up, and we didn't have a whole lot of money or anything. None of my friends did. So we didn't even know we were poor. You know how everybody's poor and you don't even know you're poor because everybody's poor? It was kind of like that. Like I really didn't know that we were poor people. I just thought, it was like that's how it was for everybody. But it'd be about like little stuff like the fact that I couldn't even imagine having enough money to go to Wendy's. Like going to Wendy's was like a fancy restaurant. Like that's kind of where we were, right? And anyway, the thing about our household that was interesting was that I would go see my friends and my cousins would be getting into all kinds of shit. They would be lying to their mothers, and their mothers would believe any old lie. They would get it. They would go out and do stuff, and they wouldn't get punished when they came home, or their parents would clean up their messes for them. And my parents didn't really do that. My parents always told me ever since I was little that you're responsible for what happens to you. I was told this when I was 9 years old. Now contrast that with a world that we live in now where people damn near don't have to take responsibility for anything. If you go get drunk and you sleep with some guy, you could say you got raped because you're not responsible for what you do while you're drunk. I never grew up in that household. I never understood that kind of mentality. I always understood that what you do is what you benefit from or you pay the price for that, right? And so anyway, out of all of that, I have friends that died young. I have friends I grew up with that ended up in jail. I have friends I grew up with that can't get a job, can't pay the rent, can't take care of their kids. And but in my mother's family, between my mother and my father, the three of us, me and my sister and my brother, I got a PhD. My brother he went to an Ivy League school, and my sister became a medical doctor. And everybody was so fascinated with, like, my God, how did you do this? How did you come out of all of this chaos and have three children that just have their shit together? Like what is your model? And in fact, my mother even they even asked her to write a book on like what she did that that was different from the other parents. And a lot of what made them different was that they were not into political correctness, and they were not into feeling sorry for yourself. They were not into blaming other people for you for the shit that you did. When we talk about credit, like taking care of your credit or taking your bank account or whatever. Like my father would talk about people. He always had perfect credit. I mean, I didn't have perfect credit. I ain't gonna lie. I used to like to spend money, but it was like when I would go broke, when I'd be broke, they would sort of be like, "Well, you're broke because you're stupid." Like I would get conversations like that, right? And but my dad had really good credit, and he would have relatives that would come over and try to borrow or try to get him to co-sign. You know what I'm talking about? When you're doing good, everybody want you to co-sign or they want to borrow money. And he would get mad. He'd be like, wait a minute. So you don't give a shit about your own credit, and you fucked up your own credit because you don't care about your own economic situation. So what makes me think that you're gonna care about my situation? Like you didn't care nothing about your own credit to protect it. Why do you think I'm dumb enough to think that you're gonna care about my credit? Right? And I would hear those conversations, and I would also watch them. I watched them work hard. I watched them value education. I watched them save their money. I watched them move from one house to the next, and every house is always better than the last one. And that's what I learned is that what you do is what's going to determine your outcome. So they did all this during the Reagan era, in which, remember, the Reagan era was terrible for black people, right? I mean, but it wasn't terrible for them because they just did what they had to do. They saved their money, invested their money, and made good decisions. They did all this during the Clinton era. Same thing. They did all this during the Obama presidency, the Bush presidency, all of that. And that was the model that I saw growing up. And so I kind of think for black people, I think that there's something to be said about us letting go of, the ideas behind integration, like letting go of all that integration nonsense and Democrat, Republican stuff and political correctness and social movements, and just do the basic shit, the basic stuff. The basic stuff, educate your kids, teach them to be responsible, teach them how economics works, teach them how to start businesses, teach them to work hard, take responsibility, and that's how you raise solid, sturdy children. And whereas now we have this world where we don't have sturdy people anymore. We just have people that just flop with the wind, and 1 minute it's all about immigration, and the next minute they're mad about something on Twitter, and next minute they're blaming somebody for their situation, for whatever they're going through. I don't understand anything like that. Anyway, hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done that yet. Please hit the thumbs up button. And I know I've been talking for a little bit, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Let me see here. Let's see. Vicky Dillard, I saw your live streams with Brother Phil. Good work. Yeah, yeah. Brother Phil that runs the advice show. Yeah, Phil's a good dude. I like him a lot. He's one of our partners too. Um, let's see. Somali says Vicky. Everybody's giving love to Vicky, and she deserves it. She deserves it. I'm telling you. Vicky is when I talk about solid people. Vicky Dillard's one of those solid people, and I just respect solid people. Let's see. Because here's the other thing. Here's another reason why you need solid people in the community. You need solid people because solid people are able to be consistent, even if it's not popular, even if people, are giving them criticism, or it's not trendy anymore. Like solid people are just good people to kick it with, you know. Where somebody's mentioned Amanda Seals, like Amanda Seals is not, that's not an example of what I see as a solid black woman. She's a black feminist because white feminists trained her how to be a black feminist, right? She's like their pet monkey. She thinks she's being black, but it's like blackness through the lens of whiteness. So whatever white people talk about, whatever white people care about, whatever white people believe in, she'll go right along with it, lock, stock, and barrel. And then also, what women like Amanda Seals don't seem to understand is that when you're out here attacking black men, doing the things that she's doing, like I think she's blaming black men for Donald Trump being in office, but you're not really challenging white folks, the white people who actually put Trump in office. You're kind of doing what white people have been doing for a long time. They and their surrogates love to make the black man the scapegoat for all that's wrong in the world. That's how they invented terms like toxic masculinity, things like that. There are very few about 80% of all black men at some point have said or done something that a white feminist would put in the category of being toxic masculinity. And the reason that I think all this is happening is because in America, you're in the middle of a 400 year gender war. White men and white women have been going at each other's throats for a long time. And so now the Me Too movement, for example, gives white women an opportunity to take power away from white men. White men, think of, is there anything out there where a man can publicly accuse a woman of something and destroy her whole career? Like, is there any tool, any weapon available for any man anywhere where he can pick out a powerful woman and accuse her of something sexual? Because men and women love to get freaky, right? But the men are the ones who are being chastised for sexuality, whereas the women are not. Right? So think about this. I mean, imagine this. I mean, so because where we're living, this is how ridiculously insane the world has gotten. A woman can hit on a man and offer sex to that powerful man. If they're working together, she's an actress and he's a director. She can offer him sex or whatever it is, and they can have sex, and she can go back and say, he victimized me. He is guilty of sexual misconduct because he had sex with me. And nobody even speaks about the fact that, well, wait a minute, but you offered him sex. Like, you wanted to have sex with him too. Isn't that what human beings do? Don't human beings have sex with each other? Isn't that how reproduction occurs? But what'll happen is they will put that man in the same category as a rapist. And then what happens is, if he's like a prominent guy at some major network, a lot of the networks will just fire him or suspend him, pending the investigation. But it doesn't matter. He's done. Like AJ from Extra. I mean, AJ's done. I mean, AJ, his career is over. AJ will not be able to do what AJ has been doing ever for the rest of his life. Whatever he's been doing for the last 40 years, 45 years, whatever, to get to where he is, that's over and done with. That's not going to happen anymore. And now, does that mean that AJ didn't, is always a nice guy when it comes to ladies? I don't know. I maybe he's not. But remember, pay attention now. AJ's not really being accused of like rape, like pulling out a knife or a gun and taking something sexual. AJ's being accused of just being a horny man. Like, the lady gets with him, she's naked, they're all getting hot and heavy, and he has an orgasm too soon or something. I think the lady said he had an orgasm on my hand or something. It's all these weird stories that are meant to be embarrassing. They're basically meant to take an established man and kind of knock him off his pedestal to make him look bad, right? To make him look like a crazy pervert. And even though everybody in here, by the way, if you're on Instagram, I'm gonna bring you guys right back. It's about to end, but I'm gonna hit this button real quick. Hold on. Hit the thumbs up button while I bring back everybody on Instagram. Please hit the thumbs up button. And also, if you want to get a text alert when I go live, just text the word "boyce" to 31996. Just text "boyce" to 31996, and I can send you a text alert. But the thing about the AJ thing that's really interesting is I didn't see anything or hear anything that was provable. Number one, or really criminal. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say that there wasn't. Maybe I missed something. But if it's not provable and it's not criminal and you didn't file any charges to begin with, um, you know, I don't know what you're looking for other than to embarrass him or to knock a black man off of his pedestal. I mean, maybe, you can go to the police and file another report. Maybe you can go to his mother and tell his mother what he did. But I think that it's very weird to me. I don't understand. I think Myron Rolle, anybody know Myron Rolle? Tell me if you know Myron Rolle. Myron Rolle played football for Florida State, and he ended up becoming a medical doctor. So he was this great football player, and he played in the NFL, and then he ended up going to become a medical doctor too. And so Amanda Seals, with her crazy ass, I think she accused Myron Rolle of something, but it was like he sent me inappropriate text messages. And then she said another woman came forward and said that he answered the door and he was naked when he answered the door. Um, Now, I guess I'm trying to process this. I can say this. I can think of a time where I went to a woman's house and she answered the door naked because she thought that I wanted to sleep with her and I didn't. And I told her I'm not interested in what you have to offer. So she put her clothes back on. Um, if I had felt that she was going to force me into something, I probably would have filed a police report right afterward. I would say, this naked woman is trying to rape me or whatever. Um, you know, I would have told somebody, right? I wouldn't. I don't know if I can come back 20 years later and say this is what she did. And I mean, because I'm serious. Like, what if? Here's the picture it like this. This is me just processing the Me Too movement out loud. Imagine if all men men, raise your hand if you've ever slept with a woman or been around a woman, or ladies, raise your hand if you're willing to admit that you've done anything sexual that would be an embarrassment to you. Like, tell me, men, if you've ever had experiences with a woman where it would be very embarrassing to her if you were to go public and tell people what she did in the bedroom. Like, tell me if you've ever seen a woman in a situation where she, like a church girl, y'all know what I'm talking about. Any guys ever sleep with the girl, the real religious girls, they're like real, they lose their religion in the bedroom, right? Right. So imagine if men just said, we want to counter the Me Too movement. So we're gonna start just telling sex stories and naming names of women that we slept with, like I slept with Missy Smith, who is now a vice president at Avon, and she was married at the time, and she would come to my house after work and give me freaky sex. Right? Like what kind of ridiculousness would that be? Like what kind of horrible men would do stuff like that to women to just embarrass them? Like, cuz let's say I'm doing it because she was mean to me and she hurt my feelings and I felt violated, emotionally violated by the fact that, that she dumped me and wouldn't have a serious relationship with me, or the fact that she stopped giving me sex, or whatever it is, right? Like let's say that I claim to be the victim, and I just decide I'm just gonna pick every woman I've ever been in private with and just start going on Twitter and telling these personal stories of these people that, of sex gone bad sex. Like that would be crazy. It would be chaotic. It would be wrong. It would be, it's just stupid. Like most decent people don't kiss and tell. Most decent people, whether it was good or bad sex, they're not going to kiss and tell. Um, the times where it obviously makes sense is clearly if someone violates you, but if they violate you, then you tell someone right then, right? Or you can even the standard of evidence is so low that you could even say, well, here's text messages I sent to my friends, telling them that this person raped me, right? This is, I text 3 or 4 people and told them what was going on. I had my friend come get me. I was distraught. My friend was a witness. She'll tell you I was distraught, right? You have people coming forward with nothing, like nothing. Nothing. Didn't report nothing, didn't tell nobody nothing. So what it sounds like is, it sounds like you're using the Me Too movement as a bitter chick revenge stick. That basically the bitter chick revenge stick allows you to go back through your mental Rolodex and find every man that you define to be an asshole or a creep or a jerk because he didn't give you what you want, right? We all want to call somebody a creep because they didn't do what we want them to do, or behave the way we told them to behave, right? And you say, I'm gonna go and just embarrass this person because I don't even have to prove anything. All I got to do is smear them with a really embarrassing accusation, a really embarrassing accusation. So I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna tell a story about Damani Scott, and I'm gonna say Damani, I'm some angry woman who's mad because Damani married another girl and didn't marry me, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna say that when Damani and I had sex, I wasn't ready to do it, and he pulled his penis out and he was holding his penis and I felt violated, and he was over the top, and it was very scary and I didn't know what to do, right? Nobody's asking Damani like what really happened. Nobody's saying, okay, once you found out that she didn't want to sleep with you, did you hold her hostage or did you let her go home? If nobody held you hostage, you ain't got much of it. If nobody held you hostage and you didn't report a damn thing, then it's hard to argue that you were traumatized. It's really hard to argue that you were really in some shit. If nobody held you hostage and you didn't even tell nobody, th- you know, all that sounds like is that somebody hit on you and you weren't happy that they hit on you. I mean, there are many people. How many? The thing about sex that's difficult, I think, is that a lot of sexuality is very unspoken. It's very unspoken. It's like people don't, like, men don't go up to women and say, "Will you have sex with me now? Would you like to have sex with me? Would you please have sex?" Like people don't do that. People, they pick up on vibes and cues, and the girl's waiting for you to kiss her, and so you finally kiss her. And imagine that. So she's waiting for you to kiss her, and then you finally kiss her, and then she goes back later on 20 years later and says you damn near raped her, and you're like, no, I kissed you because I got the signals crossed. I thought you liked me. The minute I realized you didn't, I let you go. That doesn't make that person a rapist. But the Me Too movement, again, because of this long-term, gender war, has basically structured it so that any man who hits on a woman, and if he's rejected, he's in the same category as the rapists and sexual assaulters. What is really, I think, going to happen though is that eventually people are not going to buy the bullshit anymore. I think people are going to. I think now it's to the point where a lot of people are like, yeah, 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 okay, yeah, he grabbed your butt in 1998 and you were traumatized and but you didn't tell anybody, but you expect us to really act on this. I think a lot of people are starting to see right through it, and that relieves me, because ultimately black men are the ones who are going to feel the brunt of this. Let's see here. So somebody says they will feel sorry for that woman who offered the man sex. Right, right. You offer somebody sex and then the sex isn't good, and so you're suddenly like a victim of sexual assault, and you want to get ahead of all the people that were really raped, that really went through something. Um, I'm sorry, Amanda Seals. Like you chased after Myron Rolle like every other woman. All the women want that guy because he's a doctor who was an NFL player. So I'm sure you chased him for the same reasons everybody else did. And maybe you found that he was hornier than you liked, and you walked away, and it's over. Like that's it. Like you can't label him as a rapist unless you can prove that he tried to rape you. If he raped you, there's a big gap between he tried to rape me versus He kissed me too many times and it made me uncomfortable. So I left his house. Like that, who gives a fuck? Like, shut up. Like, like seriously, like pick better men than you idiot. Seriously. Anyway, let me shut up. I'm gonna stop talking. All right, so let me see here. Somebody says now men are going to be scared to approach women. Yeah, that's what's actually happening. Smart men. See, here's the thing. Here's the thing about predators and bad people. Predators ain't never gonna stop being predators, right? So the predators are always gonna be, if somebody's determined to be a rapist or something, which I don't condone. Nobody in their right mind condones any of that. They're always gonna be doing what they do. Rapists rape. That's their job, right? Um, what you're gonna lose is you're gonna lose the good men. You're gonna lose the good men who might normally ask you out on a date or who might normally want to get freaky with you in the bedroom with your freaky ass, because women are freaky just like men. Come on, please. Everybody has sex, and some people have sex in ways that they would never want anybody else to know about, and it's okay. Sex is natural. That God made you that way. He invented that for reproduction. So that's why you're horny. You're not horny because you're a bad person. You're horny because you're human. So anyway, so what's going to happen is that man who is thinking about, hollering at you, letting you know that he's interested in you, asking you on a date, giving you some company on a Friday night, he's gonna have to weigh his career and say, do I want to risk it all for sex with this woman? Do I want to put my life and my future and my reputation and my career and my income on this person? That's what he's going to be saying. That's what he's going to be thinking. And if you're a man and you're not thinking that, then you better reconsider. I'm telling you. Like that's how heavy the decision becomes for smart men, for smart strategic men. And I understand this. I've been a quote unquote powerful man for a long time, and I was single up until a couple years ago. And even then I had to weigh, if I interacted with a woman, I had to figure out like what kind of person am I dealing with? Am I dealing with an abusive person who gets pissed off and because she doesn't get what she wants and decides she's gonna go destroy everything you got? Because that's what people do. Misery loves company. So a miserable person will go and try to make you miserable because they're literally thinking, how the fuck are you gonna go on with your life and live your normal happy life, your millionaire life, whatever it is that you got? How are you gonna go on and live your good life and leave me back here miserable? No, no, no. Nah, motherfucker, you gonna be miserable too. So every powerful person, any woman who's got something to lose, every man who's got something to lose, you got to figure out who you're dealing with before you go lay down with a person. So one of the things I can say is that I've always been a man. I've always been heterosexual. All my body parts have always worked accordingly. But ever since I got my PhD, actually, when I was 29, 30 years old, I always carefully evaluated any woman I let into my life because I had to figure out if you were crazy. I wasn't never gonna beat you. I wasn't never gonna rape you, of course. I wasn't never gonna do harm to you. I wasn't never gonna do anything to hurt another person. I was trying to make sure I didn't get abused myself. I had to make sure I was protected, you know. Because the thing is, at that time I was a professor at a university, and I wasn't going to lose everything over, my penis or over some sex. I wasn't gonna do that. And at the same time, there was another guy who was my same age, who was another professor named Adam Banks at Syracuse, and he made a mistake. He started sleeping with one of his students. He didn't have the discipline, and he started sleeping with a student. And a few months after they broke up, she decided, I'm gonna take him down. So she goes out and she basically accuses him of sexual misconduct. I don't know what that means exactly. I don't think it wasn't rape. It was something else. But it was enough to embarrass him and humiliate him and have him on local television looking like O.J. Simpson with a mugshot and shit, looking like R. Kelly or something. And when I saw that, I thought about the fact that I'd been careful up until that point. And so I think that with the Me Too movement, it's become like accelerated. And what's going to happen is that, on one hand, that you have the women that say, haha, we've got this new tool, this new power that we have that we can use to control men and to make them pay. But it's gonna fire right back on you because now that man who's interested in you is not gonna take the time to approach you because he's scared of you. Like a lot of brothers are just scared. Like they're like, God, if I even tell her that I think she's pretty, she's gonna call me a rapist. Unless she's happy that I called her pretty. Unless she likes the fact that I hit on her, then suddenly I'm okay. Until she decides I'm not okay anymore. And so, it's screwed up. It's terrible. So teacher sleeping with a student is what it is. Yeah, I think that the student was like 24 or something, so it wasn't like underage or anything, but it was something that you shouldn't do as a college professor. You should not be sleeping with students in your class, and I never did that. I never believed in it. I just felt like that was dumb because you can get sex anywhere. Why do you have to get sex in the classroom? Like that didn't make any sense to me. Um, Let me see, abuse of authority. The president of the Time's Up movement just resigned as president after her son was accused of sexual misconduct. Wow, really? I didn't know that. I'm gonna look that up. Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of the people that support the nonsense, they're gonna find out. Wait a minute, I've got men in my family too. I've got, they have sons, they have, brothers and cousins and good men in their family who are gonna get caught up in this nonsense. And so it doesn't mean that you can't pursue justice for people that deserve justice. Um, but it does mean that you can't just have people rampantly throwing around accusations and then destroying people. Watkins, you've joined the movement. I don't know what movement that is, but no, I have not joined that movement. Let me see here. What are your thoughts on Brother Polite? I only met Brother Polite one time, and he was very polite to me the time I met him. So I don't know much about. I don't really follow him that much, honestly. But when I did meet him, he was very respectful. He was giving a speech in Ohio, and he stopped his speech and he looked over and he acknowledged me and said he appreciates what I do, and I appreciate that. I thought that was very nice of him to do. Let me see. Your video has ADOS in the title. Yeah, yeah, that's because we were talking about Kamala Harris earlier. We just went into a spiral into a broad conversation, but Kamala Harris recently said that she supports reparations, and I think that that's a deep question because we have to figure out like what does that really mean? Like what does reparations really look like for Kamala Harris? And so that's why I put ADOS in there because I support that movement. I support the ADOS movement, American Descendants of Slaves. Let me see here. It's a fantasy voice. I would do it, y'all. Okay, I don't know what that means. That sounds funny. It's hard to turn down college women. Yeah, it's hard, but you gotta be disciplined on some level. You don't want to uh, lose it all over sex. Like that's just I've seen people do that, and you want to try to at least be somewhat disciplined. I mean, maybe for men, I would definitely say you want to document as much as you can. If you got a woman that's really hitting on you and coming on to you in a lot of ways, like she's sending you naked pictures away. I ain't gonna lie. One time there was a lady a long time ago that was sending me these pictures and stuff, and I kept the pictures not because I wanted them. I kept them for evidence because I said something's not right with her mentally, and if she ever goes out and tries to say something crazy, then guess what? The whole world's gonna know all about every single one of these pictures you don't sent me because you ain't gonna put no bullshit on me. Let me see here. Did Dr. Umar open his school? I don't know. He did a video about it, but that's all I know about it. What do you think about the Dame apology? I did not agree with it. I didn't understand why he was apologizing to Leor Cohen. I can understand why he apologized to Biggs and Jay, but Leor Cohen, I don't understand how he got into that apology. It's probably a business situation. Leor Cohen's a business guy, so maybe something happened business wise. I still like Damon, as a person. I have nothing negative to say about him, but I think that apology did. I didn't. It didn't. I didn't buy it. It just seemed kind of ridiculous to me, honestly. Well, I would say ridiculous. I'm not saying he's ridiculous. I'm saying that apology. It's just one of those things. Angela Rye ain't that much better. Yeah, Angela Rye's a pretty terrible person. I met her in person on several occasions, and she's always a bitch every day of the week. Let me see. Dr. Watkins, please address how will Kay Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Jay Castro, all new reparations proponents show more respect for Latinos than African Americans in terms of outreach and political language. How they will show more respect for Latinos? Well, the Latinos just a bigger voting base, so I think just for political pragmatism, they're probably going to do more for the Latino community than they'll ever do for us. Um, and what I think we have to, pretty much demand is that if you do things for us, it has to be us. You can't do things for other people and then and then include us in, like almost like you've designed the bus and you're just letting us ride in the back of the bus. Like, I don't think black people are going for that anymore. It's nonsense. What do you think about the 5 Navy SEALs that were arrested in Haiti? I don't know anything about that. Yeah, you have to brief me on that. Most men let the little head control their behaviors. Yeah, yeah. Sex has always been a weakness for men. Um, Not as much so for women. It's a strong drive, and I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of with that. I think that we as human beings have to contextualize it in a way that's healthy and makes sense. I think that the fact that we live in this world where we want to act like male sexuality is the same as criminality. Like a man, like a powerful man who uses his penis, even in it, even when it's what is it? Not unsolicited, but even in um even in a sexual situation where both people are in agreement, like they both want to do it. I forget the term, consensual. Thank you. Consensual sex. You know, this idea that a man is a bad person for having consensual sex, that really speaks to what our society is becoming. We're becoming a feminized gay society. So what they're trying to do, what the liberals are trying to do, is they're trying to socially engineer in America, where the only people in power that can be in power and not get kicked out of power for sex or something like that are either gay people or women. But the thing is that the gay men are also pretty heavy when it comes to sexual deviance, and not all of them, but there are lots of gay sexual deviants out there. They just won't talk about it. So they want to make the straight men into the demons, when actually a lot of the child molestation stuff like that, that's happening with the gay men. Like that Ed Buck story, that's the gay man. But they're not really pushing that the way they push like the R. Kelly stuff and stuff like that, because R. Kelly fits an easier narrative. R. Kelly's easy narrative is, here's this black male, this black alpha male with toxic masculinity, and we're gonna just label him a bad person and a criminal, just like we did with Willie Horton, 20 something years ago, right? And so ultimately, it's easier for them to label an R. Kelly or a Bill Cosby or whatever. Oh, sorry, hold on. I'm grabbing some strawberries. It's easy for them to label somebody like that than it is to actually go out and deal with an Ed Buck, or to deal with all these Hollywood executives that have been molesting children for decades. Or to deal with Catholic priests. They're not really dealing with that. So I kind of think, it's just one of those things where, if you look at the history of the liberals, their big thing has always been social engineering. They always want to make society into what they want it to be, as opposed to what it naturally is. So, for example, they push things like gender fluidity, that gender is not a concept, that you can be a boy one day, a girl the next, a boy, and then become a boy again. Well, that's been an ideology that's been in existence for a long time. People wrote books about it, and that's what they're pushing for. So that's why I can't be a textbook liberal, because some of their ideas are just stupid and crazy. Let me see. I'm looking for your questions. Communism is Judaism. Mark's real name. Communism is Judaism. I'm not going to say they're the same thing, but they are deeply, deeply linked and related. And a lot of the ideas on the left are linked to communism. And there are lots of people in the Jewish community that believe in those ideas. So that is true. That's why in Hollywood you tend to see a lot of promotion of homosexuality, drug use, and even mild pedophilia, because there's a connection there. Like, it's all sort of linked. They don't really talk about it, but there's a history there. Um, Let me see. But there's other sides of Judaism, of course. It's not just the communist side. In fact, there are a lot of Jews who don't like communists at all. Let me look at your questions here. Who still reads the Bible? I don't. Um, Let me see. Okay. What do you think of Jesse Lee Peterson? He's a coon. He invited me on his show, and I just couldn't do it. Like him, Tommy Sotomayor, stuff like that. I can't do shows like that because I feel like it's a little bit too much of a circus. Um, I don't hate him or anything. It's just not. It's just not my thing. I'm not in. It doesn't. Those conversations don't do anything for me. I just It's like, what, you're going to just get on here and just yell back and forth over stupid, illogical issues? Like, that doesn't interest me. I'm trying to think if there's people I would enjoy debating. I gotta think about that. Not many people. I offered to debate Yvette Carnell, but she doesn't. Even though she hates me, I've always felt like, hey, why don't we have a debate? Why don't we talk it out? I think that she has a fear of confrontation. So I think it's like like sometimes people become like digital internet gangsters, and they'll talk crazy on the internet or whatever, but when it comes time to actually defend their ideas, they have a harder time doing that. And to me, it's not an ego thing. It's not about winners and losers. It's about finding the best ideas and coming to the resolutions that make the most sense for the Black community. So I would enjoy a debate with someone like that. I would probably enjoy, who else would I enjoy debating with? Um, there aren't that many people out there, honestly. Anti BDS laws. I don't know what an anti BDS law is. I'm sorry. Um, I think Yvette thinks you and her are in two different lanes. No need for debate. Oh, that's true. That's a possibility. Let me see. Healthy confrontation is important for ideas. Yeah, Doc, you can call her. I did call her. I texted her several times and called her. She didn't answer the phone. Candace Owens. Nah, not really. Candace Owens, unfortunately, it's hard to take her seriously because she's kind of let herself be made into a political puppet. So Candace Owens isn't somebody that I can really respect. Let's see. What are your thoughts on MG Toe? I don't know what that is. So Dr. Boyce, shout out to Dr. Boyce for his platform and voice. Thank you, Greasy Tweezy. I appreciate that. Go on, Jesse, and you will get slammed, but you will get more fans. Nah, I don't. That's not fun for me. Fear of conflict is a dysfunction. It could be. Let's see. Any possibilities on getting an interview with Kamala Harris? I don't know what that would look like. I don't know what the benefit is of me having Kamala Harris on. Like, I just don't know. I just don't know. I gotta think about that. I mean, would I be opposed to it? I guess I wouldn't be opposed to it. I feel like I was unfair to her a little bit, like I was a little bit mean to her. I don't want to make her feel bad about her husband. But at the same time, I think that, you know, there's a lot of frustration with all these fake, ridiculous candidates that get dropped on black people, and we're supposed to just scream hallelujah and go, vote for whoever, you know, you tell us to vote for. Debate Eric Dyson. I debated him actually at Brown University. If you look it up on the internet, you can find it. Dr. Boyce, I'm from Louisville too. I've been doing my best to spread the word about Kamala and her record, specifically as it pertains to black men. So far, I'm noticing she doesn't have any support. No, she doesn't. Yeah, Kamala, she is a long shot. Can ADOS ever replicate Wall Street? I don't think so. I don't think that we're going to get our economic windfall from reparations. I think that our economic windfall will come from changing our ideology when it comes to wealth and investing and putting our children in position to have a strong economic situation. Cornell West, yes, I love Cornell West. One of my favorite people in the world. That man is he's as authentic as they come, and I respect him. He's right up there with Farrakhan in terms of people that I really think are great. Um, Anti-BDS laws make it illegal to boycott Israel. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the Israeli lobby, or they're just, the Zionists are so ridiculous in terms of just getting people to co-sign on their bullshit, and they buy your politicians, they buy your black politicians. Um, they're just not good people. What they do to protect Israel and the tyranny they put on the Palestinians is beyond shameful. I mean, once that stuff gets dealt with, like once it finally gets killed off, I think they're going to end up looking really bad in history. Like, I think anybody who sided with the Jewish lobby on Israel and supported all the bullshit that they were doing, I think they're going to end up looking very bad, in the history books. Let's see here. This is a personal profile. Okay, let's see. Debate Donald Trump. I don't know if I could debate Donald Trump. That would be kind of weird. What do you think about the crackdown on a Jesse Smollett case versus the girls that's coming up missing throughout the Chicagoland? Um, well, I don't know what you mean by that exactly. I mean, I know the Jesse Smollett case is I mean, it was kind of terrible. I mean, but everybody knew it was a lie from the jump. A lot of people did. People in Chicago knew it was a lie. People that were critical thinkers knew that it was a lie. Um, and now, in terms of how the media deals with it, I think the people making a good point when they say, why don't we go and prosecute everybody who lied to the police? And I was like, oh, that's a good point. They probably should, but they should also prosecute Jesse, but prosecute everybody, not just Jesse. Dr. Boyce, check out my poetry book, Inside a King's Mind. Poetry by Benjamin Jones will give you view on why we are kings. All right, so check it out. Inside a King's Mind by Benjamin Jones. Go check that out. What is your opinion on neoliberalism? I'm not a fan. I'm on the dating scene and I'm noticing black women are prioritizing makeup, lace front wigs, and nails before substance. Yeah, you don't want women like that unless you're a shallow person too. Shallow people need each other, right? So if you're shallow then that's fine. But that never that was never of interest to me. I've only loved one, two, three women in my whole life, and I didn't realize until I got older that the three women sorry, four women, sorry. I didn't realize until I got older that the four women I've loved in my life, none of them wore makeup. And it wasn't because I was specifically looking for women who don't wear makeup. I think it was just something about how that translated into the other parts of their personality. I tended to like women that had substance. I didn't really care about flashy stuff. Like if you have your makeup perfect and your hair perfect and all that, that would just make me think about all those layers I got to peel through to get to the real you, you know. And it doesn't mean that makeup makes you a bad person. There's plenty of women that wear makeup who are fine, but there's something about a woman who just says, "Take me as I am," and you know, and she's still beautiful that way. So beauty is definitely internal more than external, and you have to be able to see that when you pick a woman. So keep that in mind. Um, what men don't go to jail for false accusations? White men don't go to jail. Oh, yeah, they don't. Well, a lot of people don't go to jail for false accusations. That's true. Dr. Boyce, what are your thoughts on Miss Omar's current spat with Trump? Miss Omar? You mean what's her name? That lady that worked in the White House, Omarosa? Let me Google that. Let me see. Roland Martin, know it all. Yeah, Roland is a know it all. His old know it all punk ass. Let me see. No, Roland is fine. It's just, but he is such a know it all. Oh my God. Okay, Omarosa. Let me see. I'm gonna type in Omarosa and see. I think Omarosa is just not a good person. Um, I think that Omarosa. I've always felt Omarosa was a bad person, and that was even before she got involved in politics. I don't have a lot of respect for her as a human being. Oh, Jordan Peterson. Okay, I don't know much about that. What about Dame Dash apologizing to the culture vultures? Oh, I talked about that. I wasn't a fan of the apology. What are your thoughts on CNN being so biased to the left? I think that it undermines CNN's journalistic credibility. Like I used to think that they were more balanced, and it kind of upset me that they kind of went into the whole um, just extreme anti-Trump kind of reporting. Like I think they should have done better than that. Like Trump, I think shoots himself in the foot enough where you don't have to tell lies to make him look worse. Because when you're doing bias reporting and you're telling lies, I think you're only bolstering his case, for fake news and all the other stuff. Um, Omarosa is the White House black comfort woman. Yes, she is. I agree. Cardi B and Black China are the role models of today. I know it's disgusting. Did you know Cory Booker made up a black drug dealer friend named T Bone? Are you serious? No, he didn't. He didn't. Stop it. Stop lying on Cory Booker. That's funny. I'm not surprised though. Doc, which is an better investment, stock market or cryptocurrency? I invest in both. So there's that answer. I wouldn't over invest too much in any one area. Like if you invest in crypto, invest money that you're prepared to lose. But what you're doing is you can plant money in case crypto takes off, that's what I did. Um, Cory Booker Boule ass did. He really did. He really made up T Bone. The guy's name was T Bone. No way. Hold on, let me see. Cory Booker, T Bone. Let me see. Cory Booker and T Bone An imaginary friend. Oh wow, that's funny. Dr. Boyce, your thoughts on Killer Mike? Killer Mike is my friend, and I love that guy, and I think he's brilliant. And even when we disagree, we still love each other. So I have mad respect for Killer Mike. Um, it's true about Cory Booker and T Bone, not a lie. What's true? That the story's true, or that T Bone is true? What about the Israelis saying black men in America are a problem for them? I didn't know about that, but I'm not surprised. They're pretty racist in Israel, unfortunately. Dr. Boyce, are you going to the 400-year commemoration in Hampton, Virginia, this August 23rd, 24th? I haven't been invited, but I'll look into it. Any thoughts on investing in whole life insurance policies? I don't invest in whole life. And life insurance is really for people that have young children. It's not supposed to be something that's in place your whole life as an investment tool. There are other ways to invest. There are other ways to leave wealth behind. Would you ever run for prez? No. Let's see here. He had a drug dealer friend named T-Bone. It was a lie. Wow. And that's just that's a name like out of a movie. That's how I knew that was one of the things that set me off on Jussie Smollett. Like I felt like Jussie was lying because of the way he told his story and the letter, the way the letter looked, like it looked like it was in a movie. And then he told the story like yeah, then he punched me and I punched his ass back, and then he put a noose around my neck and poured bleach on my head. Like it sounded like his imagination was like too a little like it ran away a little bit too much. And so that's what T-Bone makes me think about. Like literally, like really T-Bone? Like anybody from the hood got a friend named T-Bone? I ain't got no friends. I ain't never had no friends named T-Bone. I had a couple friends from the hood. I do like Bunky, Pookie, like my nickname was Coco, like Lala, like Booger. But T-Bone, really? T-Bone? Are you kidding me? Right? Anyway. No, stink stink. You know what I mean? Like dumbass like hood names are stupid names. Like T-Bone is literally something that a white man would pick for a movie. Like T-Bone does not compute. Like nobody grows up with a cousin. Oh, that's my cousin T-Bone. Like maybe it could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but it usually doesn't happen. Okay, anyway, let me go back. Um, Do I have a structural annuity with Pacific Life? Oh, I have a structural annuity with Pacific Life with my mother. My mother got from me. Should I break it and invest myself or keep the payment disbursements I receive in lump sum every 3 years? I think if you're disciplined enough to invest it, I mean, why not invest it yourself? Just make sure you use your tax deferred investments first so you don't pay a lot of taxes or you can get them deferred. Do you believe immigration affects the black community? Not very much. Well, actually, it does affect the black community, but in a more negative way than positive. The history of immigration policy, going back 100 and something years, was very anti-black. They would let immigrants in from lighter countries, but not from Africa and places like that. So black people did not typically benefit politically from increased integration. Now, to this day, what's happened is illegal immigration has diluted resources for the black community. It's also caused a lot of problems and a lot of chaos in the country. It's also legal immigration itself, because a lot of it comes from south of the border, has diluted the black vote. So the black vote used to mean a lot more like 60 years ago than it means right now. I think that's where immigration affects black people. I think there are black immigrants for sure, but that's not enough for us to support immigration policy as a whole. I mean, like there's black rapists, but we don't support rape. There's black, criminals, but we don't support crime. There's black Republicans, but we don't support the Republican Party typically. So I don't think that just the fact that there are black people that are affected, in a positive way by a policy means we should support that policy. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Are penny stocks worth it? Some of them are, but they're not any better investments than regular stocks. Also, penny stocks are not regulated, so you want to be really careful about buying penny stocks. I really think Jussie has had a nervous breakdown to the point where his mother needs to say, "Son, that is enough. He's in too deep." Yeah, I think so too. And I heard he had a drug problem. He'll probably come up with some white woman excuse for why he did it, and then make that into a thing. Like if I was Jussie, that's what I would do. I would brand the whole thing. I would brand it as mental illness and drug addiction, and basically say, yeah, I was in a really bad place and I was really going through blah 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 blah, and my crack habit, my crack habit and my depression caused me to make bad decisions, and then people will forgive him, and then he'll have a chance to have a career. That's what I think he should do. I think he's going to do that. Cardi B said Jussie Smollett ruined Black History Month. I think Cardi B ruins Black History Month every month. That poor thing. But she's just being herself. She's just, I mean, she's a self-proclaimed stripper hoe, and that's who she's being, and she's being true to who she is, and it is what it is. What are your thoughts about Terry Crews going after DL, TK Kirkland, and Vlad for questioning his manhood for not beating down the guy who grabbed his nuts? I think that it was just awfully weird that he was so bold, when it came to fighting other black men, but he was like a complete bitch when this man like grabs his balls in front of his wife. Like this white man grabs your nuts and you just sit there like a little wimp. But now you want to act all gangster and stuff. No, like use a bitch. Like seriously, like you proclaimed yourself to be a bitch. Just sit back with your bitch ass. Like be the bitch that you are. Like stop trying to get all bad now. Like you're not bad. Like you're lining up with the blonde headed white women in the Me Too movement. Maybe y'all can all get together and cry and drink tea and stuff and hug each other, or whatever white women do when they're sitting around feeling sorry for each other. And that's fine. Like that's the lane you chose. Like you can't, no, I'm sorry, brothers are not with that. We don't sit around and feel like we're victims. If somebody grabs our nuts, like if you grab my nuts, I'm gonna retaliate. I'm gonna respond to you. I'm not gonna like sit back and talk about how traumatized I was, like I'm a woman. I'm not a woman. Like I'm a man. I'm not a woman. So that space of, oh, he touched me and I was so scared and that I didn't know what to do. Like that space that's designed for women. Women are allowed to do that, and it's okay. Like if my woman said that, if she says he grabbed me and I froze up, I didn't know what to do. She ain't that type of woman, by the way. She'll punch your ass out, just so you know. Like so she doesn't understand the Terry Crews thing. But if she did, if she came to me and said, "Hun, this man grabbed me, he touched my booty and he was my boss and I just didn't know what to do. I froze up." Like I would understand that. I would get that, right? But I don't think that she would have respect for me if I told her the same story, right? I think that the biggest lie that was ever told by the liberals is that men and women are the same. And when they start teaching men how to behave like women, you know, then real women are not going to respect that. You know, like gay people love it, I'm sure, and maybe white people like it, and white women think it's great because every white women, I guess they want everyone to be a white woman, so they're happy that Terry Crews became a white woman. But black men, like that's not how brothers are built. That's not how men are built. So that's why these men were looking at him sideways, like like wait, you're big and strong. You got all these muscles. You're 6'2", 245 pounds. Like what's the problem? So yeah, I think I laughed. I ain't gonna lie, I laughed. I was totally politically incorrect over the whole Terry Crews. I literally thought it was hilarious. There's nothing there's nothing about his so-called trauma that will have me respond in any other way other than laughter, complete laughter. Now, if you tell me he went to prison and a bunch of big bulky dudes surrounded him and beat his ass and raped him, then I have sympathy. Then I feel bad for you, right? Because that's assault. Like that's not cool. That's terrible. It's horrible. It's happening to thousands of black men every day. Like that's real assault happening to real brothers out here. Like they're right now, somebody's really getting raped in prison right now. That's where our sympathy should lie. Our sympathy should not lie with Terry Crews. I have no sympathy. There's you made a choice. You chose the money over your dignity. That's what it was. Because apparently you thought that he could help you make another $1 million. I mean, you're supposed to already be rich and famous anyway. So it's not like you're a young actor. It would have even been understandable if he was like a young actor who just got to Hollywood and was just looking for his first big break. Then you could almost kind of get it, like, okay, he doesn't know the landscape and he's trying to eat that night or whatever. No, bro, you're famous, man. Like you've made millions of dollars. Like we've been watching your movies since the '90s. So what's the problem, man? At what point does a black man have the right to leave his testicles attached to his body? Like, must you always be a bitch? Like, is that a requirement? Like, is there never a point where you have the freedom to say, "Don't touch me anymore, or I will fuck you up"? Like where what gives, man? It's dumb. It's stupid. So anyway, let me see here. Someone said, "Get off the internet and help someone in the world." Let's see here. Blacks have to decide now between Cardi B or Nicki Minaj and Lil Wayne to perform at the BET Awards, since Nicki won't perform if Cardi is there. Okay, I don't know what that exactly means, but yeah, I'm not choosing any of that. ADOS required reading, Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth. Yes, absolutely. Dr. Claude Anderson has been speaking that ADOS language for 30 years. He's the originator of all of that, at least amongst living people. Before that, though, you had, the Marcus Garveys and other people like that. So you've had great men and women speaking this language for a very long time. Hit the thumbs up button, please, real quick. If you're on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button. Yeah, but at the end of the day, he's rich, so who cares? Blacks shouldn't involve ourselves with people who receive meritorious manumission. Yeah, I agree. MeToo never discusses men rape in prisons. Exactly. That's again another sign that shows how unserious they are. Like you're talking about sexual assault, but you say nothing about men being raped in prison. Well, then you're not serious about rape. You talk about kids being separated from their parents at the border, but you say nothing about hundreds of thousands of black children being separated from their parents when their parents go to prison. Then you care nothing about kids being separated from their parents. Right? That's what it is. Will Smith got kissed in public and slapped the guy. Right, right. I remember that. Yeah, Will was like, man, like he smacked him. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, I mean, unless you enjoy being kissed, I mean, whatever, man. Um, who cares about BET? I know I don't. Any thoughts on Noam Chomsky? Smart man, very smart man. When is the next Powernomics conversation with Dr. Anderson? I think we're going to talk next Thursday. So Dr. Anderson and I, we agreed to get together every Thursday to do our Powernomics conversation. So subscribe at drboycetv.com and you'll see when we go live. And also, if you want to get a text alert when we go live, text Boyce, my name Boyce, to 31996. Why do you keep trying to be a part of ADOS? Because I was born a part of ADOS. It's not, and I support it. So I don't. It's not a matter of being a part of it. And I think that the big thing about the whole ADOS movement, first of all, Dr. Anderson started all that stuff back in the day. Like, so, that's not a new concept. Second of all, one of the things that we have to stop doing is getting so excited because our hashtag took off and so excited that people are paying attention to our movement that we forget the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing. You're not doing this shit so you can get credit, so somebody can rub your ass and tell you that you're a beautiful person, right? You do it for the people. You're doing it for the cause. And so, the thing about whether it's ADOS or Us Too, that's another hashtag Dr. Anderson uses, or Tangibles 2020, Tariq Nasheed's joint. My argument is anything that black people do that benefits black people that you care about, you should support that and get behind that. So with the ADOS movement, I have always said black people deserve reparations, but I've also said black people can do for self. And I think it's absolutely retarded for anybody to think that those two ideologies are mutually exclusive. Like, it is literally beyond, like, your IQ has to be 8 for you to not be able to reconcile how we can ask for reparations and still build on our own. Like, why is that even a debate? Like, why is that even, like, why are you debating as to whether or not you're going to have green beans or mashed potatoes with your dinner when you could just have both? What the fuck, man? Like, are we like that determined as black people to argue that and to hate each other that we will argue over shit that is not even argue overable, that is not even worth an argument? Like, seriously, if we're gonna argue, let's argue about something that matters. Like, this idea that we can't do for self and request reparations it's just stupid. I mean, it's literally crazy to me. So I just encourage anybody who's listening, Don't get caught up in those dumbass arguments. Just seriously, don't get caught up in any of that dumb shit. If somebody says, well, wait, or are you a do? You're a do for selfer. I heard somebody use that dumb term, like you're a do for selfer. Like, what the fuck is that? Everybody should be a do for selfer. What are you, a welfare recipient? Are you a handicapped kid in a wheelchair? Like, are you a person that can't do anything that's dependent on other people? Like, is that how? Like everybody should be a do. Boy, sure, a do for selfer. No, I believe that we can do anything white people can do. I believe we can do anything Asian people can do. I believe we can do anything Latino people can do. So everybody needs to be a do for selfer. Everybody. Because I'm gonna tell you like this. Let me break it down like this real quick. Black people, if you don't learn to do some shit for yourself, then you're gonna be sitting in the same damn gutter 100 years from now that you're sitting in right this moment. If you don't learn to get up off your ass and do something for yourself, ain't nobody coming to save you. Kamala Harris ain't coming to save you. Barack Obama ain't coming to save you. White Jesus ain't coming to save you. Shit, even I ain't coming to save your ass. I'm gonna ask you why are you choosing to lay in the gutter? So just be clear. Everybody must be a do for selfer at some level because that's how empires are built. Empires are not handed to you like motherfucking welfare checks. You don't get empires handed to you by people who just want to see you do better than them. No, you live in a world that is a dirty, nasty world. You live in a world that is very competitive. You live in a world that is not fair. You live in a world that is racist. You live in a world where the minute you get ahead, you get a little something, somebody's going to try to take it from you. You live in a world where people get jealous. You live in a world where people will try to knock you off your perch. You live in a world where nothing's going to come easy. Accept that fact and then put yourself in a position where you can fight, where you can build, where you can do something for yourself. Seriously, that's what it is. I think the thing I hate the most about integration, the thing I hate the most about integration and liberal politics is they stole black people's desire and ability to compete. They stole your ability to compete. And so I thank God every day that I was not raised to be a straight liberal integrationist kind of Negro because I would feel depressed. I would feel hopeless. I would sit around complaining all the time. I wouldn't be able to actually do anything. But instead, fortunately, I was raised in a household where we were not conservative, we were not liberal. We just knew that if you wanted something to happen in your life, you had to go make that shit happen. You needed to go make it happen. So for black people, if you want reparations, here's what you do. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna give you the Dr. Boyce Watkins 30-second $1 trillion reparations plan. The money will be paid in full in one generation. Everybody, are you down with the plan? Do you want to hear my 30-second reparations plan? $1 trillion reparations plan. So they won't pass a $1 trillion reparations bill. They're gonna try, but it's probably gonna fail. But whatever, they can try, right? I'm gonna give you the 30-second Dr. Boyce Watkins $1 trillion reparations plan. You ready? You wanna know what it is? Here's what it is. Everybody should invest in their family, find a way to learn how to invest in the stock market and invest an average of $5 a day. Invest the same amount of money you spend on fast food, clothes, whatever. Keep spending money on other things if you want. Just take that money, that same amount though, give yourself a matching funds plan, and the amount that you spend, invest the same amount that you're spending. So if I go to McDonald's and I drop $12, put $12 in your stock portfolio. If I go to the mall and I drop $45, put $45 in your stock portfolio. Just do that consistently, and you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your children. If you do that consistently, then what will happen is in the next 30 years, you're gonna see that little money growing into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Two, learn how to buy a house. If you can't buy a house, at least learn how to buy one. Pretend like you have the money. Learn what it takes to buy one so that you can try to position yourself to get one when you can. If you can't, tell your children you must buy a house as soon as you can. When you get older, when you get your money, buy your house. Everybody should own a house. Tell that to your kids on repeat. That's the second thing you can do. And then third, if you really want to pop up and you really want your family to do well, make entrepreneurship a second religion in your household. Make sure your sons are as good at starting businesses as they are at throwing footballs and dribbling basketballs. Make sure your daughters know as much about economics and starting a business as they know about dancing, twerking, and reality shows. If they know as much about, if they can recite, the steps to starting a business the same way they can recite Cardi B lyrics, then your family's going to win. Your children are going to win. So why is that $1 trillion reparations package? Well, because if every black person in America was to do that, do those basic things, spend the same amount, invest the same amount that we spend on fast food and do basic things in our household, then that would literally generate at least $1 trillion in additional economic value in the black community. Actually, more than that. Why do I know that? Well, because when they look at the black spending power, black people have 1.2 trillion a year in spending power. We give away $1 trillion a year to white people. We literally get, so over the next 30 years, we're going to give away at least 30 to 40 trillion dollars to white people. So we are talking about reparations that should come to us when really we're paying reparations to them every single year. And we've been paying reparations every year. That's why we can't build anything.